Welcome back to episode 2 of our kitchen remodel. In this episode, we're going to finish prepping the old cabinets and then paint them using Valspar cabinet oil-enriched enamel paint. We'll also show you how we ended up prepping our floors for the peel and stick luxury vinyl tile that we'll install later.
All right, just finished framing the spot for the range in the oven to go. Took a little bit to get it all square and level, but now we've got 30-inch, well, it's just over 30 inches and basically a 1/4 inch all the way through. There we go. So now we've got our oven space, new electrical. All we gotta do now is do some paneling over this front here. Obviously we're not gonna leave that gap just open to the world there. All right, Ashley, what are you doing here?
I'm scraping the paint off.
It has begun.
It has begun. We weren't planning to do this, we were planning just to sand, but I just wanted to give it a try and it actually is working really, really well.
Yeah,
it's a little less dusty.
We were afraid the scraping was actually gonna gouge the heck out of the wood, but it's pretty smooth, right?
Yeah, it's like doing a really good job. And it's actually, as a byproduct, is also removing the finish, which is pretty nice. That was underneath. So the previous owner who painted these unfortunately didn't remove the finish or sanded it all first, and that's why it didn't bond. Anyways, so it happens to be the scraping's removing most of the finish too. So we'll go behind and we'll still sand, but I think it'll take us a lot less time now, which is nice.
How much fun is scraping it?
I love scraping. It's my favorite thing ever. I like doing that
Scraping
on
paint.
the exterior of houses, interior. It's the best.
Yeah, we've scraped a lot of paint. I just cannot leave us alone here. Come on, go sleep. Go sleep somewhere. Some other paneling up here. Just need to do some finish trimming around the edge next to the wall. So, all the trim, all the baseboards out. It is now time to remove the vinyl floors. So, luckily we have some newer vinyl floors that are floating, so they're just on top of the old vinyl. And we're gonna be able to just cut a big X in the bottom of the floor, and hopefully they'll all just come up super easy now that all the baseboard's gone. So, here we go, we're gonna try it out. Well, Ashley's already done a good job of scraping it mostly down. But now we're gonna jump in with the orbital sander. Fun stuff. Okay, so we got our new blue, sky blue walls. Hopefully it'll be kind of cheery in the winter. The next thing I'm going to do here is we kind of chunkered up this cabinet a little bit when we took out the lower part here. This actually used to be a double oven right here. And we took this out to make room for the laundry machine so we could have a 2-unit house. And yeah, we kind of chunkered up the cabinet right here. So what I'm going to do is cut a piece of trim to cover up these little chunkered bits, make it look a little cleaner. And then we're going to start priming the cabinets. Here's the primer we're going to use. It's a Valspar. It's actually a latex primer, but it says, everything we read online says it works well with the oil paint that we're going to use for cabinets. So we'll let you know how this one works. Here are Papaya's repeated attempts to break through the force field and attain access to the work site.
Hi, Petey.
So we got our first coat on the cabinets here. It looks pretty good. I'll show you a couple things that we're a little concerned about. One thing we're seeing a little bit is the yellow color from the varnish come through. It came through the primer and it came through the first coat of cabinet paint. Well, the other thing we're seeing is that it's pretty smooth, but we are going to sand it and try to get that top coat, the last coat, really smooth. So we'll use some 220 grit sandpaper and some tack cloth that we're going to go pick up right now in order to keep the mess down. And we're going to put that last coat on tonight, about 24 hours after we put the first coat on. And each coat we've been doing so far has taken 2 of us about 3 hours. So for 3 coats, we're hoping to be done in 3 coats. That's going to take 9 hours, not counting all the prep time or anything like that, for 2 of us to paint it. So about 18 hours of labor to paint these cabinets. That's just literally painting them, not the prep work or anything else. So it is a lot, it is a time-consuming process, to say the least. All right, so the floors, we've been working on the floors and we've run into a couple of issues dealing with our floors. First of all, we had 4 patches where the floor level was actually 3/8 inch lower than the rest of the floor, and that's because somebody had cut out something at some point and didn't bother to finish up the floors or anything. We did one of the patches over here. We cut out some cabinets for where we put the washer and dryer. So what I did first is I put down 1 layer of 1/4 inch plywood, and then on top of that I used the Skimcoat, and I'll show you how I did the Skimcoat on top. In hindsight, looking at it now, I think what we're going to end up doing is putting a layer of 1/4 inch plywood over the top of everything, because the vinyl floor we have currently is this old 1980s, 1970s, possibly asbestos-ridden vinyl floor. And I just don't want to deal with the health concerns of ripping it up. It's glued on really well to the plywood, to the subfloors beneath. So instead of ripping it up and making a huge dusty mess in here, we're just going to put plywood, I think is what I've decided. I just decided that now, that we're going to put plywood over the top of everything. I will say that the Skimcoat worked pretty well over the subfloors, so I would use that product again if I was going to level just a small patch of floor, or had somewhere where you couldn't use self-leveling floor stuff. The self-leveling floor agent is going to leak through cracks. This stuff worked really well for us because we had all the cracks and everything, and I didn't want to deal with trying to caulk them or fill them in order to use self-leveling floor agent. Oh, the other issue with our vinyl floors is when we peeled up that other layers of 1990s linoleum, this vinyl, or whatever the heck, asbestos, whatever it is, started bubbling up. Basically, it started becoming delaminated from the bottom layer. And you can see in a few areas I'll show you where there's kind of these bubbles underneath. So what I'm afraid of is if we went directly onto this vinyl, those bubbles would cause the new vinyl that we're going to put down to not adhere properly and cause some undulations and messed up floor for the future.
So we got the second coat on. Second coat? No, first coat on. Was it the first or the second?
This is the first coat over the primer.
Yeah, this is the first coat of actual cabinet paint. So we got that on. We are gonna go ahead and sand it. We just have a little bit of drippage, not bad though. And then we just wanna make sure that there's like no grit or buildup. So we're just gonna do a quick 220 and then we're gonna vacuum and cat cloth. And then hopefully we're ready for the next coat.
Okay, so here we're just tack clothing off all the dust. We just sanded off. That's just to make sure there's no...
Papaya, no.
Yep, Papaya's trying to get back through. She'll sit there for hours just pawing at the plastic. She's gonna get through. Papaya.
She's gonna get all dirty. Stare with the, use the...
Alright, so this is after the second coat of enamel. So primer and 2 coats of paint. You can see it's looking pretty good. Possibly a little bit of yellow there. It's probably really hard to see, but it looks a little yellow. Just in a couple spots. Right there too, there's a little bit of yellow. And then inside the cabinets you can see, oh, it's actually really hard to see on the camera, but it's gonna need a third coat, unfortunately. 6 more hours of painting. There's still just a little bit of darkness showing through in there. And the same up here.
Rollers. We also bought these velour ones, but I tried to use them yesterday and they just weren't moving on the roller very well. They were like getting stuck and sliding. So I actually went back to the cheap foam rollers and they're working great. Thanks for tuning in. Tune in next week for episode 3. We'll be installing butcher block countertops and tiling a backsplash over the existing backsplash.